Meta is spending $135 billion on AI in 2026. But their own scientists publicly admitted their last AI launch used fake results. So Zuckerberg removed his entire AI team. He spent $14.3 billion to hire one person to rebuild everything from scratch. On April 8, 2026, the stock jumped 6.5% in a single day. I had a simple story about Meta in my head before I started looking into this. Meta was the company burning money on AI and producing nothing. But when the stock moved 6.5%, I wanted to know if that story had finally changed. So I went and read everything. The announcements, the test results, the company filings, the statements from the people involved. Here's what I found. 1 year before that 6.5% move, Meta submitted an AI model to a public benchmark test. It ranked number 2 in the world. Then developers downloaded the actual product and tested it themselves. On the same leaderboard, the model fell from 2nd place to 32nd. Meta's own chief scientist confirmed the results were, in his words, fudged a little bit. That is the company that just moved 6.5% in 1 day. The question this video is about whether the person Zuckerberg spent $14.3 billion to fix that problem actually fixed it. But before we get to April 8, 2026, one thing about Meta needs to be clear. Meta is not an AI company the way some of its competitors are. It is an advertising company. 98 out of $100 Meta earns comes from selling ads on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So why does Meta spend more money on AI than almost anyone else on the planet? Because time is money. Specifically, the time you spend scrolling. Every minute you stay on Instagram is another ad Meta can show you. Better AI means better content recommendations. Better recommendations means you stay longer. You stay longer, more ads. More ads, more revenue. The AI is not the product. The AI is what keeps you on the product. That is why Meta AI is free to use. They are not trying to sell you the model. They are trying to keep you in the app. By May 2025, Meta AI had crossed 1 billion monthly users, more than any other AI products on the planet, larger than ChatGPT, larger than Google's AI assistant. 1 billion people every month using Meta's AI across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Look at that number for a second. 1 billion users. And the financial world still caught Meta behind in the AI race. That contradiction is what this video is actually about, and the answer to it starts in April 2025, with one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of this company. Meta had a strategy that made it different from every other AI company. Instead of keeping its AI code secret, Meta gave it away for free. Anyone in the world could download it, modify it, and build products on top of it. This approach is called open source. Think of it like publishing your recipe instead of locking it in a vault. The strategy worked. Thousands of companies and developers built their products using Meta's free code. Meta became the platform everyone else built on. The open source strategy made Meta look generous. More importantly, it made Meta look like the honest alternative to the secretive, closed-off labs at OpenAI and Google. Then came April 2025. Meta launched a new AI model. When AI companies launch a model, they submit it to tests so the world can compare performance. One of those tests works like this. Real people are shown 2 responses from 2 different AI models, with the names hidden. They vote on which response was better. The model with the most votes ranks highest on the public leaderboard. Meta submitted its model to that test. The version that submitted scored in the top 2 in the world, number 2 overall. Headlines were written. The comeback story was ready to be told. Then developers actually downloaded the product. The version Meta submitted to the test was not the same version that released to the public. When developers ran it through the same leaderboard, the score collapsed. Second place to 32nd. Like a student who aces the practice exam in front of the teacher, then hands in a completely different paper on the test day. Then it got worse. Ian LeCun is one of the most decorated AI researchers in the world. He is also Meta's own chief AI scientist. After the controversy broke publicly, he confirmed what everyone suspected. The benchmark results, he said publicly, were fudged a little bit. The chief scientist of your own AI division goes on the record and admits the results were manipulated. Zuckerberg was, by all accounts, furious. He lost confidence in everyone involved in that launch. He sidelined the entire AI team that had been responsible. Think about what that morning looked like inside Meta. You have spent years building a reputation as the honest, open alternative in AI. And now your own scientist is on the record confirming the results were fake. What do you do next? Zuckerberg's answer was to spend $14.3 billion. In June 2025, Mark Zuckerberg made one of the most expensive personnel decisions in Silicon Valley history. He spent $14.3 billion to hire one person. That person is Alexandr Wang. He was 27 years old. Here's what Wang has built. A company called Scale AI, which did one specific job for the AI industry. It organized and labeled the enormous amounts of data AI models need to learn from. Think of it this way. To teach an AI to recognize a stop sign, you need someone to look at millions of photos and manually mark every stop sign in every image. Scale AI built the operation that did that work at enormous scale for almost every major AI lab in the world. Google, OpenAI, Amazon, they all paid Scale AI to prepare their training data. Wang had built the hidden infrastructure that sat underneath the entire AI industry. Zuckerberg wanted that person inside Meta. Meta did not buy Scale AI outright. It bought a 49% stake. Wang then left his CEO role and joined Meta as its chief AI officer, leading a new division called Meta Superintelligence Labs. That deal had an immediate and dramatic side effect. The day it was announced, Google and Scale AI's other major clients cut ties with the company. They had been paying Scale AI to prepare their training data. That data and that infrastructure were now sitting inside a company nearly half owned by their direct competitor. They stopped sending their work. Scale AI let go of 200 full-time employees. It ended contracts with 500 additional workers. A company that has served the entire AI industry became, in practice, Meta's private data operation. If you own a broad market index fund, Meta is in it. This decision, and whether it actually works, directly affects the value of that holding over the next 5 years. There's one more dimension to this deal that almost no one in the mainstream finance press has followed up on. A group of senators, including Elizabeth Warren, sent a formal letter in February 2026 to the government agencies that oversee business competition. They named the Meta deal specifically. Their argument was that buying a 49% stake rather than 50% was a deliberate choice to stay just below the threshold that would have required the deal to be reviewed and approved by the regulators. The agencies have not acted yet. The case is still open. But cost, as it turns out, is not the biggest problem. The question was whether $14.3 billion and one person could actually fix what Mark Zuckerberg broke. Wang joined Meta in June 2025 with one job: fix it. He has not given many public statements about what those 9 months looked like. But on the day of the launch, he posted on social media. The words were short. 9 months ago, we rebuilt our AI stack from scratch. New infrastructure, new architecture, new data pipelines. Every major technical system rebuilt from zero in 9 months. And then he added one more line. There are certainly rough edges we will polish over time. That is not what you say when you are overclaiming. That is what you say when you know exactly where the gaps are. 1 month before the launch, in March 2026, a report circulated online saying that Zuckerberg had quietly pushed Wang aside, that a new engineering group had been created and Wang's influence was shrinking. Meta's response was immediate and personal. A spokesperson said, Alex helped create the new team, still runs the lab, has growing, not waning influence. This is all so silly. 4 weeks later, Wang walked out with a product. The model is called Muse Spark. It is the first AI model from Wang's team at Meta Superintelligence Labs, and the first in Meta's new Muse series. Here's what it does in plain language. It reads text, it looks at images, it combines both to understand complex questions. It can use tools, meaning it can search the web, run calculations, or interact with other software on your behalf. And it can coordinate with other AI systems to break a big task into smaller pieces and complete them in sequence. That last capability is the one that matters most for the industry is going. I will come back to it in a moment. On the tasks that matter most, Muse Spark is generally competitive with the best models in the world from OpenAI and Google. On health and medical questions specifically, it outperformed every other AI models tested, every single one. That includes OpenAI's latest model and Google's latest model. But it is not ahead across the board. There's one category of tests measuring the ability to solve new abstract reasoning problems from scratch, where Muse Spark scores 42 out of 100. Google's best model scores 76. AI scores 76. That is not a close race. Hold these two numbers, 42 versus 76. We are going to come back to why that specific gap matters more than almost anything else in this story. Now, here is where a second story I researched this week connects directly to the first. The same day Meta launched Muse Spark, a company called Perplexity reported that its revenue had jumped 50% in a single month. 1 month. Their annual revenue run rate went from roughly $300 million to $450 million. Perplexity started as an AI-powered search tool with 100 million monthly users. The reason for other revenue jump was a new product called Computer, which connects and coordinates up to 19 different AI models to complete real tasks for users. Not answer questions, complete tasks, book things, draft things, research things, do the work. The CEO of Perplexity said something that I think explains exactly what Zuckerberg is building toward. The orchestration is the product. The model is a tool. What that means in plain language, the money is not in building the smartest AI. The money is in building the system that takes a smart AI and actually uses it to get things done for people. Zuckerberg said almost the same thing the day Muse Spark launched. We are building products that don't just answer your questions, but act as agents that do things for you. Perplexity has 100 million users and just validated that this market is real and pays. Meta has 1 billion users and is pointing at the exact same target. I want to hear your take on this. Do you think Meta can actually win that market with 1 billion users already in its apps? Or does it start too far behind OpenAI and Google to catch up? Tell me in the comments. Genuinely want to know what you think. Here's what I'm personally watching over the next 90 days. That abstract reasoning gap. 42 versus 76. The tasks that agentic AI needs to complete for people, the actual job completing tasks that Perplexity just showed the world are worth paying for, require solving new problems from scratch. That is exactly where the gap is largest. The next model release will tell you whether Meta closed it or whether it is structural. Here is the part of this story that the market celebrated on April 8 but has not fully worked through yet. Meta built its entire AI reputation on one promise. We gave the code away for free. The open source strategy was not just a technical decision. It was a business identity. It was why thousands of developers around the world chose Meta's AI as their foundation instead of building on OpenAI or Google. It was the reason developers trusted Meta as a partner rather than a competitor. Muse Spark is not open source. Meta is keeping that code private, like a secret recipe. The company that spent 3 years positioning itself as the honest, open alternative to the secretive labs at OpenAI and Google just shipped its first serious model using the exact same secretive approach. Zuckerberg said they plan to release open source models in the future, and they hope to open source future versions of Muse Spark. That word hope is doing a lot of work in that sentence. The developers who built their businesses on Meta's free AI code are now waiting to find out whether the most widely used open source AI platform in the world just entered maintenance mode. That answer has not been given. If this breakdown is useful, hit like and subscribe. I go this deep every single week. Here is what the market priced on April 8, 2026. Meta's new AI model is real and competitive. After a humiliating public failure, after the most expensive single hire in Silicon Valley history, after 9 months of rebuilding from scratch, the product actually works. Top performance on health benchmarks. Competitive across most major tests. Deployed immediately to 1 billion users across every Meta app. That reaction is not irrational. The 6.5% is not a mistake. But here's what the market did not price. Muse Spark has no direct revenue line. The model is free. Meta does not charge a subscription for it. The entire bet is a better model that keeps you in the apps longer, which shows you more ads, which grows the advertising revenue. That indirect path is already working in Meta's existing advertising tools. Those tools now run at a $60 billion annual revenue pace. Advertisers using Meta's AI systems report getting back $4.52 for every dollar they spend. That number is real. But here is the number that does not exist anywhere in public filing. How much of Meta's revenue growth actually comes from the frontier model work that Wang is leading, versus how much comes from the advertising AI tools, which are a completely different system built by a completely different team? Meta labels both AI. They are not the same investment. They carry different risk profiles, and the company has never separated them in any disclosure. If you hold Meta stock or any broad tech fund that includes Meta, that missing number is the one that tells you whether the $135 billion AI budget is generating a return or just generating headlines. The market right now is pricing Meta as if the threat is resolved and the story is over. But the number that would actually confirm that has never been published. 3 things I am watching from here. First, the government agencies that oversee business competition have not ruled on the Wang deal. The senator's letter was filed in February 2026. Watch whether an investigation is opened before Meta's next earnings call in late April. If it is, the deal that funded the entire rebuild becomes a legal question. Second, Meta said it hopes to open source future versions of Muse Spark. Watch whether that actually happens, and when. If the open source release does not come within 6 months, the developer community that built on Llama will start looking for alternatives. That trust is not permanent. Third, that abstract reasoning gap, 42 versus 76. Watch that number in the next model release. If it closes, the agentic AI market that Perplexity just validated is within reach for Meta. If it stays, the 1 billion users do not matter as much as they look on paper. 1 year ago, Meta's own scientists went on the record and said the test results were manipulated. On April 8, 2026, the man Zuckerberg spent $14.3 billion to fix that, walked out with a product the market reported with a 6.5% move in 1 day. The stereotype was that Meta was burning money on AI and had nothing to show for it. The product launch challenged that. But the story did not end on April 8. Is the stereotype dead? Or did it just change shape?